Let's begin with a look at how the markets performed as at Friday, the 25th of April. Beginning with commodities, Brent crude came in at a price of $89.52 and a positive change of 0.50%. WTI crude followed in the positive at a price of $84.03 with a change of 0.55%. Natural gas was down at a price of $1.56 and a change of negative 4.52. And lastly is RBOG gasoline down at a price of $2.72 at a positive change of 4.49%, all as at 5.46 GMT. To the Nigerian markets now, where the markets closed bearish with a strong decline for the close of the week. As a result, NGX All-Share Index settled higher at 98,152.91 with a deal of 6,582, volume of 265 million and equity capitalization of 55.5 trillion naira. Let's now take a look at how the markets in Europe performed as at Friday, 25th April, where we saw a positive clean sweep with the Euro Stoxx 600 closing at an all-share index of 507.98, up by 1.11%. London FTSE also in the green at an all-share index of 8,139.83 and up by 0.75%. The markets in Germany saw the DAX close at 18,161.1, up by 1.36%, while the CAC 40 in Paris ended the week at 8,088.24, up by 0.89. And finally, IBEX 35 closing positive at 1.56 with an all-share index of 11,154.6, being the last market closing as at 5:45 GMT on Friday. Finally, let's take a look at Wall Street. And now, let's take a look at the top stories from around the world in the past week. The first phase of Nigeria's consumer credit scheme, a program intended to provide credit facilities to working inhabitants, has been approved by President Bola Tinubu. This is according to a statement released in Abuja on Tuesday by Ajuri Ngelale, the president's special advisor on publicity and the media. The program will be rolled out gradually, starting with civil service employees and working its way up to the general public, according to the statement. The federal government yesterday officially launched a new set of fiscal incentives to rejuvenate Nigeria's ailing oil and gas industry, stressing that it aims to attract about 10 billion naira in investment over the next 12 to 18 months. This is in a bid to ensure a competitive framework for the Nigerian oil and gas industry and comes on the heels of the announcement by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company and its joint venture partner, New Cross Exploration and Production, of production resumption from the Awoba field. President Bola Tinubu has appointed Jim Ovia, chairman of Zenith Bank PLC, as the chairman of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. Ajuri Ngelale, presidential spokesperson, announced this appointment in a statement on Friday. Ngelale says Tinubu believes that Ovia will bring an immense wealth of experience to ensure that no Nigerian student suffers a paucity of funds in the quest for tertiary education. On April 3rd, Tinubu signed the Student Loans Amendment Bill into law to provide Nigerians with quality and accessible education. The law will allow Nigerian students in tertiary institutions to access low-interest loans for tuition and academic needs. Nigeria is seeking fund managers for a planned $10 billion diaspora fund that is aimed at attracting dollar inflows and foreign investment into the economy. The fund seeks to pool together billions of dollars remitted monthly by its citizens overseas for local investments, including infrastructure, healthcare, and education. Last year, Nigeria is estimated to have received in excess of $20 billion in diaspora remittances across the World Bank, according to the World Bank. Now, Dangote Petroleum Refinery on Tuesday again announced a further reduction in the prices of both diesel and aviation fuel to 940 naira and 980 naira per litre, respectively. This comes in the wake of its widely celebrated price reduction to 1,000 naira barely 2 weeks ago. The price change from 940 naira is applicable to customers buying 5 million litres and above from the refinery, while the price of 970 naira is for customers purchasing 1 million litres and above. Nigeria's Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, says the country has qualified for a World Bank loan of $2.25 billion. Eden disclosed this at a press conference held at the annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank Group in Washington, D.C., and says the package, which was approved by the Board of Directors of the World Bank, offers a 40-year term, a 10-year moratorium, and a 1% interest rate. Access Holdings plc's shareholders approved the group's proposal to launch a capital raising program of up to $1.5 billion at the second annual general meeting on Friday in Lagos. The subsidiary attempt to raise up to 365 billion naira through a rights issue was also approved. For its banking and other non-banking businesses, as well as for organic expansion, the proceeds of the rights offer will be utilized to meet continuing working capital needs. Nigeria is working on the details of the proposed dollar-denominated domestic bonds, which is part of an overall measure by the federal government to address the foreign exchange crisis, the Debt Management Office has confirmed. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has recently announced plans to initiate the issuance of domestic bonds denominated in foreign currency in the second quarter of this year. The offer targets residents and institutional investors with access to foreign exchange, even as bond yields will be benchmarked to comparable dollar assets. The Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday approved the sale of additional foreign exchange to eligible bureau de change operators at 1,021 naira to the dollar below the current market price. This was the fourth consecutive intervention since the Apex Bank resumed support for the segment under its current management. However, yesterday, the naira at both the official and parallel markets continued to slide despite the sale of the greenback to BDC operators. The yen tumbled to a fresh 34-year low on Friday after the Bank of Japan kept interest rates on hold and offered no indication it was in a hurry to arrest the currency's slide with higher borrowing costs. The Japanese currency traded as low as 156 yen to the dollar after Bank of Japan Governor Kazuo Ueda says the yen's weakness was so far having no major impact on Japanese inflationary pressures, fueling speculation that the government might directly intervene in markets to support the currency. Earlier, policymakers had voted unanimously to keep benchmark interest rates within a range of about 0 to 0.1%. TikTok's chief executive says the social media company expects to win a legal challenge to block legislation signed into law by President Joe Biden, which he said could ban the popular short video app used by 170 million Americans.
As you may have heard, Congress passed a bill that the president signed into law that is designed to ban TikTok in the United States. That will take TikTok away from you and 170 million Americans who find community and connection on our platform. Make no mistake, this is a ban on TikTok and a ban on you and your voice. Politicians may say otherwise, but don't get confused. Many who sponsored the bill admit a TikTok ban is their ultimate goal. It's obviously a disappointing moment, but it does not need to be a defining one. It's actually ironic because the freedom of expression on TikTok reflects the same American values that make the United States a beacon of freedom. TikTok gives everyday Americans a powerful way to be seen and heard, and that's why so many people have made TikTok part of their daily lives. Rest assured, we aren't going anywhere. We are confident and we will keep fighting for your rights in the courts. The facts and the Constitution are on our side, and we expect to prevail again. Our community is filled with people who have found acceptance and compassion, offered inspiration and encouragement.
U.S. chipmaker Micron Technology is set to receive more than $13 billion in government funding and loans to help build memory chip factories in New York and Idaho as Biden administration seeks to shift supply chains away from Asia. The preliminary agreement, which includes $6.1 billion in direct funding and up to $7.5 billion in loans, will come under the 2022 CHIPS Act. Funding packages for Intel, TSMC, and Samsung have been announced in recent weeks. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the country's largest business lobby, filed a lawsuit on Wednesday seeking to strike down a federal agency's near total ban on employers requiring workers to sign agreements not to launch competing businesses. The Chamber's lawsuit in federal court in Tyler, Texas, alleges that the U.S. Federal Trade Commission lacks the power to adopt sweeping rules such as a ban on so-called non-compete agreements released on Tuesday, which is set to take effect in August. The FTC is empowered by federal law to enforce existing antitrust laws passed by Congress, but not to enact rules determining what other type of conduct by businesses is anti-competitive. Spotify turned the largest quarterly profit in its 18-year history as Chief Executive Daniel Ek makes good on its promise of a new phase for the streaming group after decades of freer spending. Spotify reported a net income of 197 million euros on 3.6 billion euros in revenue in the 3 months to the end of March. In the same period a year ago, it lost 225 million euros and 3 billion euros in revenue. But its austerity had an impact on user growth in the quarter. The largest mining firm in the world, BHP Group, has put forward a buyout offer for rival Anglo American. This move might upend the sector at a time when copper demand is skyrocketing. A bid worth £31.1 billion was made approach by Anglo by BHP on Thursday, marking one of the biggest purchases in the industry in years. In the event that the deal goes through, it will be established as one of the biggest copper mining companies in the world during a period of rising demand for the metal, which is crucial to the switch to green energy.